Cancer takes a long time to develop. It didn't happen overnight. It's a
Okay.
series of, mitochondrial dysfunctions, metabolic changes. We can talk all about that, but those things are things you need to continue doing well when you get home. Right now, we can run one blood test. We can look for 50 to 70 cancers.
Mm.
Be accurate in the 95 to 98 percentile. And if you know you have a hereditary, run it every year. The secret to getting rid of cancer is early detection. Because if we detect it early, it's curable. We can treat it, it's gone. And now we can talk about why it happened, what are things we need to do to change your health or improve your immune system, whatever we might need to do. But the important thing is now we have this technology and we can use simple blood work, and we then can go and escalate it and avoid surgery, chemotherapy. Now, let's say we do the test, and for whatever reason, a patient now has a more advanced cancer. It's spread, it's maybe in 2-3 locations, it's larger. Now we go into precision planning. Now we do next generation sequencing, all the DNA, all the RNA. These are thousands of markers. And then the immune profiling, and then we say, here's the blueprint. And then with precision, we go in with not high dose chemo, not high dose, and direct to the tumor, oftentimes avoiding the unnecessary side effects and harms. And now we can bring the cancer, by the grace of God, into remission and hold it.
Hey everyone, this is Jonathan Marx from GoToHealth. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We've got a great show today. We're talking about personalized cancer care. Personalized medicine shouldn't be considered alternative. It should be mainstream, treating not just your illness, but you as a whole person. Whether you're facing advanced cancer or struggling with chronic Lyme disease, advanced integrative treatments have helped thousands of patients achieve results they never thought possible. Dr. Dino Prado, NMD, founded Envita Medical Centers in 2001 in Scottsdale, Arizona, with the goal of improving the lives of patients by combining advanced natural medicine with conventional medicine. Envita's vision is to radically improve patients' lives by developing proprietary immunotherapies for treating cancer via reestablishing essential immune function in a highly personalized manner for each patient. And we'll explain what all that means. You can learn more by visiting Envita.com, and that's Envita.com, Envita.com. We want to keep bringing you the stories and insights you love. Help us out, please, by leaving a 5-star review on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, or wherever you listen to us. It helps other dedicated listeners like you discover the show. Thanks in advance. Welcome to the show, Dr. Dino Prado. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Good. It's a pleasure. So our gold standard of care has been based on double-blind, placebo-based clinical trials, which creates what we have called, and I support, is evidence-based medicine. But compare this with newer AI-driven individualized care models. I think things are really changing in how we can better serve patients. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I always tell people, if you look at like SpaceX and you're launching a ship to the moon and you're bringing it back down and landing it with thousands of data points right on its target, what you have in precision oncology is all of these data points. So double-blind placebo clinical trials are population health. So they're basically treating large groups of people, same type and stage of cancer. So let's say both have the same type of breast cancer, same stage. The problem is the data shows us there's tremendous heterogeneity. These are two unique cancers, meaning in the conventional model of care today, we use a biopsy, a tumor marker, and imaging, maybe 24 data points, and then we're basing the entire treatment on that. The problem is when we do detailed testing, DNA, RNA, so transcriptomics, spatial biology, multiomics, we have thousands of different data points that now we can be more precise. And so the double-blind placebo clinical trial is outdated because the technology we have can test for so much more that we really, in my opinion, need to move to what's called N of 1, where the treatment and the testing is on the individual, because it'd be very hard to separate every breast cancer by the exact same markers. And just so you can understand this a little bit, it's an interesting topic. If you look at somebody's cancer and we broke it down, and let's say we sent like a drone in the air to look at your house and the overview. We could do that with tumors now. We can look in the aerial tumor and look at the spatial biology, and we can spot the immune system, which is the key to cancer, hands down, right? The immune system is the essence of getting rid of cancer. It's blocking your immune system from getting to the tumor. And now we can see what's actually blocking it. The ratio of cells, the gangs outside your tumor blocking the police of your immune system getting there. And now we can be so precise and get right to the tumor and avoid unnecessary treatment. More information helps us to be more detailed in care and give less dose of care. So even in IV chemotherapy, which people have heard of, the majority of chemotherapy doesn't get to the tumor. Only 2% or less actually get to the tumor. So the majority is going to your healthy organ, central nervous system. But now we have this data, we can actually give 10%, 15% of that microdose, including other supportive agents, right to the body and not lose your hair, not get weak, and also get a beautiful response and tumor die-off. So this is where, with the AI of things, because a lot of this mapping is done not only with testing, but with deep learning, we can avoid a lot of what I would say is more of an archaic, older model. And I think will be proven right in the next, 7 to 10 years because technology is advancing. But the problem in medicine is it's very hard to getting to patients because this ecosystem we have today, both the billing, I call it the cancer industrial complex or medical industrial complex, is designed the way it is. It's very hard for it to change. And, hospitals are already set up. They have their billing systems, their laboratory systems. You have to, when you get into precision and targeting, you need a new ecosystem. It's a precision ecosystem because now I can't just call Cardinal or McKesson or a pharmacy to order the medicine. I have to be able to custom make it. It's more than just compounding. I have to be able to custom design it for the patient. And it does yield always better responses, as we've seen in not just our 2024 published paper, but in studies like iPredict and Winther, where they literally show when you have better matches, you take the guesswork out. And so this is exciting, but we need to get it to patients. It's very exciting. And you're up against a system of oncology that's kind of in the older model of the double-blind placebo clinical trial. When you use precision oncology, you kind of unveil all of that and you go, well, this might be good. We might use a cytostatic drug to slow things down for a little while. Like, for example, if you look at a real popular drug, if somebody had a marker like Herceptin or HER2 for Herceptin in breast cancer, it slows it down. It does very little killing. Ultimately, the immune system has to do the job. And so now, if you know that, you can couple that with agents that are actually going to kill the cancer, help the patient into a even longer term remission than just a temporary response. How often do you hear a patient's getting well and in a couple of years it returns, or 3 years it returns? Because of this model. And the technology today allows us in the algorithms and the deep mapping to actually go for a cytotoxic or to kill and remove the cancer as the key philosophy and strategy of treatment.
So let me ask, this is fascinating. Let me ask, how do you use AI in the treatment of cancer? What are we talking about there?
So what we're talking about is, first of all, we're using laboratory testing. So we're using like next generation sequencing. So we're running all the CT-free DNA data sets so we can see the mutation on DNAs. We can also run transcriptomics, which are RNA. So they're all intertwining maps and immunoprofiling. Now, when you have all this data, how does deep learning help us? It helps us in the bioinformatics. So when we're doing all of the algorithms that design care, whether it's you want to use vitamin C, okay, or you want to use cisplatin or whatever it is, or in between, it doesn't matter. In an unbiased model, the combinations actually change the outcome because of the deep mapping of how one thing might. So for example, you'll hear often in oncology, if you do standard chemotherapy, you want to stay away from vitamins. Oncologists will say, don't take vitamin. Nurses will tell you, don't take any antioxidants. It'll block the chemotherapy. And they're correct. However, only during the half-life of the drug. And the half-life of the drug might be a half an hour, 2 or 3. And then you actually do want those because you need to recover the immune system because natural immune, a lot of the chemotherapy, particularly standard care, maximum therapeutic dose, wipes out your immune system. And that is your ultimate key to eliminating long-term response in cancer treatment. So you actually want to recover it. And there's sophisticated pathways where if one agent is going after slowing down the cancer or killing it, you can add something to it to make it more effective. So 1 + 1 can now equal 5. And AI helps us because as it pulls data, and these are, now remember, this is what we call closed AI. So we're not just out in the World Wide Web, we're in closed AI from clinical care and understanding the algorithms that have been successful so we can repeat them in the future. And so every several weeks here, we have a molecular tumor boards, which, all our physicians, we have a large group of doctors, about 40 or so, and they, no matter whether they came from standard oncology or standard primary care or naturopathic medicine, whatever their background is, they have to go through 2,000 hours of training in molecular targeting and 1 year of residency because it's a whole new practice. We're experts in molecular targeting. Standard oncology has very little training in the space. They wait for a lab to come out. They might run an NGS test and find like a BRAF mutation and then give a drug and then give another drug in combination. We're here, we're deeply in the work of the full algorithm. And when you can uncover the full algorithm, you can greatly improve the quality of life for patients and response rates. So I see an end of cancer coming, and it's not what people think it is. It's not a one drug or a magical pill that a pharmaceutical company will develop. It's the science of precision targeting where the patient gets exactly what they need at the right dose, and their quality of life and treatment becomes very manageable and their length of life far better. And that's already what we've seen in our published paper. In 2024, we published 200 patient cohort, and we had a 35 times better response, times, not percent, in late stage cancer patients with a 43 time better quality of life because of this mapping. And people say, well, are you guys that much better? Are you great? Well, it's because of the precision ecosystem. It's because we're letting the science guide and we're being unbiased and we're letting that guide the care. And that makes a tremendous difference. So we find a lot of times a patient might need an integrative agent as supportive care. You take an agent like a curcumin. People know it's a spice. It has some benefits. Well, curcumin on its own is not, it has phytotherapeutic mechanisms, but when it's combined with a chemotherapeutic, it changes completely. You might stop a multi-drug resistance, a PGP pump that's pumping the chemo out. Now we can give a very low dose chemo where you have no side effects. The curcumin has some obstacles because it has to be delivered in a method that the body will absorb it. Oral is not going to do it because the bioavailability would be too low to give you the mechanism of action you want. So there's where the pharmacy components come in because you have to now custom build these. I'm giving a very simple example. And to kind of show you some other interesting things we see in our algorithms is if you looked at a tumor, and we did this thing, like I said earlier, we send a drone up in the sky and we could see the tumors and we could see around the tumors. The most important thing in oncology today is the tumor microenvironment. So a lot of us have heard of these PD-1 inhibitors. This is the immunotherapy. This is like the new, all the drugs. These are big multi-billion-dollar drugs worldwide. And the idea is these PD-1 inhibitors, PD-L1 inhibitors are going to help your natural killer cells kill the tumor. The problem is the tests that they're using to identify these are usually just, mutational burden. But now that we can see around the tumors, we can see neighborhoods that are blocking the immune system from getting to the tumor. And you can actually see what actual percentage of these PD-L1s you even have. So if you only had like a 5 or 10% expression, what's the effect of that going to be? Not as good as you want it to be. And so if you look at the literature, only about 19% of patients have very long-term good responses with these medications because the tumor microenvironment is incorrect. So we can now correct the tumor microenvironment by using minimally invasive surgery. We can use a catheter the size of your hair, go right into the circulation, right to the tumor, and deliver medicines to change the environment around the tumor and create an immunotherapy at the tumor at the same time. Now you get this immune vaccine that goes, so if you treat a tumor on the left breast, you could actually get response on the right, the lungs, the bone, because it's a systemic response. So this is the brilliance of precision oncology, and it's moving a lot faster than standard of care. And that doesn't mean that I'm against double-blind placebo. I'm just saying it's outdated because it's what we've used for years. It's evidence-based. It's got some safety data. Of course, we can talk about oncology because a lot of drugs in the oncology space get approved on something called fast track, which means they showed that there was a response, but the response didn't actually mean the patient's going to live longer. They got some shrinkage of tumor, but then there was a rebound effect, and the 5-year survival of the drug necessarily didn't meet what the hopes were. But with precision oncology, we can actually predict that and we can change with the trajectory of the mutations of the tumor. So within weeks, we can check circulating tumor cells, methylation rates. We can tell you if the treatment is responding or not, and we don't have to wait for imaging or wait for tumor markers. We can literally see it in what I call leading indicators, which allows us to modify the care before the cancer grows back or doesn't respond to care.
So let me ask a couple of basic questions based upon what you've said. If we're using AI, what I understand the benefit of AI is AI can be huge databases of the patient information that you can use to kind of predict what's going to work and what's not going to work. But you're talking about such precision, individualized, personalized treatment. How does AI help you with that consistency?
Well, it's fantastic because AI is, think of it as like a data assistant, right? And so what AI and agentic AI is going to be moving more to is allowing us to look at a large amounts of data, large amounts of information at so many different pathways, if you will, and then summarize and organize it so it's very simple and succinct for patient care. So now this deep learning, you normally would have lots of people reviewing all these pathways and the various interaction from one pathway to another. For patients to understand this, think of like, again, we're up in the sky. I like the drone analogy, and we see these freeways going everywhere. Some are going left, straight, right. In oncology, that's what's happening. You might be treating one area, one road, but then the cancer will come back and grow on a different road. It'll be like a whack-a-mole. You block one area, it's coming back in another. So you want to silence these, and you want to do that in a very organized manner. So to accomplish that, deep learning allows us and our bioinformatics team, which we have an international bioinformatics team. We have like 16 to 20 people in just our which are the people that study the combinations and come up with the laboratory algorithms that we use in patient care. And it's the way we use it in patient care, obviously, is the physicians are ultimately making the calls on patient care, and they're using all kinds of laboratory data. But this is also very helpful, especially when patients are refractory to care and they're not responding. This kind of data is incredibly helpful. It opens up a lot more than you could imagine.
Now, you just said something key, which I want to test or underline here. You just said that the physicians actually make the final decisions. So it's not, I mean, AI is not taking over care.
No,
right?
No, AI is data. It's like hiring 50 or 100 assistants on your team to go pull and analyze data. But then ultimately the data has to be analyzed by physicians and clinicians, because that is medicine. You can never, if you do that, it's a big problem, because the doctors at the end of the day, when we comb algorithms for bioinformatics, it ultimately has to be seen by a physician, and the physician finally approves that is correct data. That, so you don't have hallucinations, you don't have AI problems, and AI just helps because it just helps with some of the bulk of the work, and it's going to get better. We already seen, if anybody's been working with AI already in 6 months, it's improving, but to the point in which it's just a tool, it doesn't solve anything. Like if we were talking to a patient right now, and a patient said, Dr. Prado, tell me what would be the best diet program for me. And I would say, well, you can go into your Grok or your Chat GPT or your Gemini, and you go in and say, I have this type of cancer. I want to increase my protein. I want to eliminate sugar. I want to help bring in polyphenols and nutrients that are going to help fight my cancer. I want to eat this many. It will calculate for you pretty well what a great diet program. And I want to eat organic, and I want to get all these toxins out of my food. And now it'll calculate what you should eat, your protein intake, and it'll do recipes for you. It'll give you a shopping list. That's like an assistant doing all that.
Right.
That's fairly simple. But when you're talking about published papers and pathways, it's a little more complex. And so you need the physician's eye and the clinical eye to review everything and then look at, okay, this is going to a person. So obviously these are already approved drugs or off-label or integrative that we've been using for years. So it's not that we're unfamiliar. You have to have the clinical experience. We have 25 years, many thousands of patients. So we have the clinical experience to make sure that something is safe and helpful for the patient. So there's that clinical component.
Good. So let's talk a little bit about your campus here. But before I do, I just want to let people know if you want to learn more, you can go to envita.com, and that's Envita, envita.com. And Dino, you're located in Scottsdale, Arizona, but I understand that you take patients from around the United States, worldwide. Tell us about the patients who come to see you, and then also about the campus that you have where you treat people.
Well, the patients come from everywhere because unfortunately cancer is everywhere. And oftentimes the road that patients will take is they'll fail care and then they start looking for, deeper planning or other options. And then Envita will come up and they'll interact with us. At any given time, as we're speaking, we'll have several thousand patients reaching out to our teams. We begin to look at their information immediately. We don't want to waste patients' time or ours. We want to be helpful. And so we'll look at maybe connecting that information to one of our physicians to make sure that this is something we may be able to help with. There's tools that we have that can assist them. And then the patients come. And so I would say that the majority of our patients are from the United States. They come from every state and they come here for care. We're in North Scottsdale, which we happen to be in a beautiful area where weather is, ideal. It's a perfect location for that. It's a beautiful area. And so our patients, when they're doing care here, what's unique is if you've ever been to a cancer ward and you see people very sick, it's a very sometimes frightening environment. I call it, there's like a spirit of death on the floor. You can just feel it. There's a lot of sadness. Envita is not like that at all. There is a lot of light and there's a lot of, because people keep their hair. We have people hiking. Just the other day, I ran into two patients that are both adenocarcinoma colon, late stage, liver mets, very advanced diseases, color in their face. They look like they were on vacation. One had just gone hiking over the weekend. This is precision oncology. And they had said to, it was interesting when I was talking to them, one of the patients was staying up here in North Scottsdale at a friend's house. And the wife felt bad because the friends were coming back for that particular weekend. Mm-hmm. And he didn't even look sick enough because they told him, listen, my husband has cancer. And they're going to think we're house squatting because he had that kind of vibrance and energy. So people are active when they're here if they can. Now, of course, if they're later stage in disease, they're a little still tired, but we're helping them. Those are the advantages. Now, the campuses we have are, about 300,000 plus square feet. And that's unusual because people think of a small care campus. We have our own pharmacies, which supply medicines for our doctors' custom algorithms just for what we do at Envita, but we also supply 4,500 other doctors nationwide with different supportive integrative care. We also have our own laboratories which do this deep algorithmic testing because the technology that we're using is the latest in the world. In addition to that, we have our treatment campuses, and those are, again, it feels like a home and warm. There's actually was a published study not too long ago about the importance of a patient having the right attitude during care. It makes a big difference. And the environment is huge. So at Envita, you're going to find an attitude of prayer, of hope, of light. It's been like that since day one. And since the day we started the clinic, I commended the clinic to the Lord. And I said, you're in charge. We'll do whatever you ask us to do. We're here to help people. And we've been blessed. And so people feel it when they come through the door. They just feel the light. And the nurses that we bring into our teams, we use a program called Radical Loving Care. But we have so many students that come from a number of nearby universities. So we have this culture within Envita that's a uplifting, life-giving culture, which you feel when you come in the door. And that is something that patients have shared for years. And it's not something that, it's not something you can tell until you're here, but you can feel it.
So Dino, are you evangelizing this to other practitioners? I mean, you just said that your pharmacy supplies drugs to 4,500 other practices. Are you getting word out about this? Are other people learning about precision oncology from you?
Slowly. So what mainly we're doing is we're helping integrative doctors with what's called supportive adjuvant care. So let's say a patient has already finished chemotherapy or they're trying to prevent cancer and they need screening, or even they just have other issues, cardiovascular disease, or they're doing preventative medicine, or they need IV nutrition, those kinds of things. So we see functional medicine doctors, naturopaths, we supply those physicians. At the level of when you're at Envita is when you really need a deeper level of precision. So there's an ecosystem in the campus here that's very hard to do in a small or practitioner office because of the level of technology and training that's needed. But absolutely, as soon as patients finish care with us and we send them back home and they go back to their state, wherever they are, we connect them to one of the doctors in that area that can continue providing supportive infusion care. Cancer takes a long time to develop. It didn't happen overnight.
Okay.
It's a series of mitochondrial dysfunctions, metabolic changes. We can talk all about that, but those things are things you need to continue doing well when you get home. And so having a good physician that we refer you to, that you can work with, that can support you, is critically important. And then we can also supply them the medicines so the patients can continue their ongoing care.
Good. Let's talk a little bit about prevention. Prevention's often talked about, but can it be personalized? And what do you believe is the best way to prevent cancer using today's advanced screening technologies? And how could broader access to these tools make cancer more treatable or maybe even curable in the future?
So this is actually a simple answer, but less than 1% of doctors are using this. So let's start with all the most common cancers. Let's use this for breast cancer, and you can use it for any cancer, okay? Number one, for breast cancer screening, you'll actually have the patient referred by the gynecologist will go to mammography, and then they'll just get a baseline, and then if they see an image, sometimes you get false positives and women get scared. This is outdated and archaic, in my opinion. So what we do is look at screening as like signals, different layers of signaling. Right now, we can run one blood test. We can look for 50 to 70 cancers. Be accurate in the 95 to 98 percentile. Wow. That's brilliant. And if you have a hereditary, run it every year. If you're somebody every 2 to 3 years. Now, here's the beauty. Let's go through this breast cancer analogy, which we've do many times. We run it, and let's say there's a signal for breast cancer. Now, we're going to order imaging. We're not going to mess around with mammograms, all that. We'll order MRI or QT breast ultrasound, these beautiful images, and we go, okay, here's the tumor. It's right there. It's very small. We don't need surgery. We don't need lumpectomy. We don't need chemotherapy. We can immediately, as we're doing the biopsy, we go in and freeze the tumor with cryoablation. It kills the tumor, and we keep all the antigens intact so the immune system can go to work. And now the tumor's gone. You don't have the fear of surgery, lumpectomy, disfiguration. It's all over. And now you're in full remission. And we're monitoring you with circulating tumor cells and methylation every so often. And as you hold 1 year, 2 year, 3 years remission, and now we focus our testing on what's called root cause analysis. So now we're working on what brought the cancer on in the first place. Was it pesticides? Was it infections, heavy metals? And now that we have that, we help the patient restore their immune system, because that's what we know from our clinical experience helps to hold the longer term remissions. This is so completely different than everything you're told. Because if you use these kinds of tests, the secret to getting rid of cancer is early detection. Because if we detect it early, it's curable. We can treat it, it's gone. I mean, the simplest thing is a melanoma on your skin, you get it removed, it's gone. And now we can talk about why it happened, what are things we need to do to change your health or improve your immune system, whatever we might need to do. But the important thing is now we have this technology, and we can use simple blood work, and we then can go and escalate it and avoid surgery, chemotherapy. Now let's say we do the test, and for whatever reason, a patient now has a more advanced cancer. It's spread, it's maybe in 2-3 locations, it's larger. Now we go into precision planning. We don't just use only the biopsy, only the tumor markers, only the imaging. Now we do next generation sequencing, all the DNA, all the RNA. These are thousands of markers. And then the immune profiling, and then we say, here's the blueprint. And then with precision, we go in with not high dose chemo, not high dose, and direct to the tumor, oftentimes avoiding the unnecessary side effects and harms. And now we can bring the cancer, by the grace of God, into remission and hold it. Because the goal here is the data is guiding us. We don't need to guess. We can target. And so this is the elegance, and this is pretty much all cancers. If we have this kind of elegance in screening. Now, the other question I get asked all the time, and because we're working on getting these services covered by employer groups, right, through healthcare plans.
I was just going to ask about insurance coverage and regulatory hurdles. Talk about that.
Yes. So the insurance piece is actually interesting. We published in 2020, 2019, we did an actuarial data of Envita's work because we wanted to know what our cost was and what our outcomes were. And we were very happy because and we just published in 24, our outcomes, as I mentioned before, they were fantastic, but our cost is half the cost. Where we're seeing the most interest is employer groups they're having to buy insurance for their employees, and they want people to be healthy and reduce costs. And so
Right.
now we're developed programs inside of self and level funded healthcare plans where an employer can have their own plan. We're working with membership groups like Health Shares, and now we're opening into other groups. So now patients can have all the standard of care and also access to this precision and longevity medicine, and people can live a lot longer. And we could do that with screening and the technology that's available. So the exciting part of that is where employers are, using and coming into these self-funded plans. What we found is in the employer groups, they're saving money and their employees are happier. So we're very excited. And so those programs, we've been working very aggressively to make those available.
So Dino, this has been great. I want to have you back on again. I can tell we have a lot more to talk about, but for the purpose of today, I always like to ask the question, what question didn't I ask that I should have? Or what message would you like to leave people with today?
Well, first message I want to leave them is don't be afraid. Get rid of the fear and the doubt. And, by the grace of God, look for illumination where you have the right data and information, and that'll guide you, because that's what I've seen with patients. And I always tell patients to pray. And people say, what about prayer? Prayer is very important to me. I think it's important to a lot of people.
Yes.
And you will get inside yourself answers that will guide you to the direction for the healing that you need for yourself. And then the other thing is, if you want to learn more, come visit us. We also have our Dr. Dino podcast, which is me talking all about these innovations in oncology and precision, but for different cancers and different technology. So if people need help or want to learn more, and then obviously if they need help now to go to the clinic at Envita.com, that's ENVITA.com, so that somebody there can help answer specific questions regarding what we may be able to do to help them.
Good. This has been a wonderful discussion, Dino. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me anytime.
Yeah, sure. So we've been talking with Dino Prado, NMD. He founded Envita Medical Centers in 2001 in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Envita is ENVITA. And he founded this with the goal of improving the lives of patients by combining advanced natural medicine and conventional medicine, and now, as we're seeing, combined with AI and the magic of AI. Envita's vision is to radically improve patients' lives by developing proprietary immunotherapies for treating cancer via reestablishing essential immune function in a highly personalized manner for each patient. Dino, thanks again for being with us today. It's been wonderful to meet you.
You have a blessed day. Thanks.
Good. So, folks, thanks so much for being with us today. And as we say at the end of every show, this has been Jonathan Marx with GoToHealth, and we encourage you to go to health. Take care. We'll see you again next time.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in today to Go to Health. You are one of almost 10,000 people per day who enjoy the evidence-based health information offered by our guest health experts. You can watch us on our website and YouTube, and listen to us on 8 podcast networks. Be sure to join Jonathan Marx in our upcoming shows each week. If you like our show, please share this episode with your friends and colleagues. You can subscribe to the show, join our email list, send us feedback, browse through the online store, and view our library of over 150 shows at GoToHealthMedia.com. See you next time, and remember to elevate your life with Go to Health.